Hi, everyone. I guess I'm live. Comments are coming in, even though my screen was still scrolling of the connecting sign. So, hi, welcome to Wednesday. It is Emily from Life So Savory, and today we're going to make a really fun little sewing project that can also be used for a Christmas gift or something that you might want to use to store maybe something that you get for Christmas. So we're going to make a round drawstring storage bag. You can use this for makeup or stationery supplies or sewing supplies, like make a little on-the-go sewing kit. So anything small that you need a storage place for, this is a really fun alternative to a zipper pouch. And I love making these, and it's been a long time since I've done it. So that's what we're going to do today. It's going to be round. It's going to have a drawstring. It's going to be so cute, and I'm excited to sew it with you today. So we are going to get started. And let me know if you have any questions along the way. I'll be checking in on the questions and hopefully answering them. Before I forget, don't forget tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern, I will be live with Angela Wolf on the Brother Crafting page. I don't think it's the Brother Sews page, the Brother Crafting page, talking all about sublimation printers and the new Brother sublimation printer and doing a project there. So you can check that out tomorrow at noon Eastern on the Brother Crafting page. So the first thing I want to do with this is to create 2 circles. So I have this fun quilting fabric left over from the outfit that I made, one of the outfits that I made for the Houston Quilt Festival. And I'm going to make it into a circle. The fun thing about this makeup bag is you can make it literally any size. You can cut a circle out of your fabric. So as big or as small. So if you want to store something larger, make a bigger circle. If you want to make something smaller, you can shrink this right down. Today, we're going to make a fairly small bag, I would say, but it's the width of the fabric that I have here. And like I said, I want to create a circle out of it. So I'm going to start by cutting open or cutting this in half. I can get a more precise circle, I think, if I just cut one piece. So I'm going to fold it into a double fold like I would if I was making a circle skirt. Okay, and then from here, we can see how big of a circle we're able to create. And I should refold this with the wrong side out so that when I put my markings, I'm not putting any markings on the right side of the fabric. And the pencil will show up better on this white side. So we're going to start in the center here, and looks like we can go out. We're going to go 6 1/4 because that's where we can get a nice even cut line. So I'm going to measure 6 1/4 out and around several places on this bag. Apparently, I don't have a full circle here. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this one, and then I'll use this one to cut the other one afterwards. So you can connect those markings if you want, or you can just go ahead and cut them. We're going to be sewing this, so I'm not too worried about this being a perfect cut because we're going to stitch it and turn it right side out. Apparently, it's time to cut the blade or connect. You get a new blade on my rotary cutter. All right, so once I have this cut, then we're going to fold it again. And I'm going to use this one as a template for cutting this one. So I'm going to go ahead and double fold this second piece. Place it on here. And then we're going to go ahead and cut this one. And then we'll have 2 circles. And at this point, we're going to move over and do some sewing. And then we'll come back for the finishing work on this in a minute. So let me just quickly go over what you need. So you need 2 circles cut in any size because we're going to sew them together, right sides touching. Okay, so 2 circles. You can also use an optional piece of elastic, and I'm going to go ahead and get that prepared here before we go over to the sewing machine. But we're going to create some small straps, or I don't know if strap's the right word, spots in our pouch where we can slide in pencils, makeup brushes, mascara, or whatever you're storing in here. Okay, so we're going to sew that on here, and we're going to take this over and sew in just a minute. You also need some string to put through for the drawstring. So this is a drawstring circle bag. So I'm going to use this gray cording, but you could also use a shoelace or pretty much anything that you can thread through. Thin bias tape I've used before. That looks cute. You either need to make buttonholes or use metal grommets. I'm using metal grommets because I think it's easier. So I have elastic, I have that. And then if you want your, when you pull it tight to stay, you can always tie it, or I'm going to use 2 of these little toggle things to also hold the cording when we cinch up the bag. Okay. So you can make the bag with a single cinch, or we're going to do a double cinch. So it has 2 ties on either side. So it also makes it where you can just open up part of the bag or open up the whole bag. So up to you how you want to do this. Okay, but we're going to start by sewing some vertical lines down this elastic so that we could put pencils, or like I said, makeup brushes or crochet hooks or whatever you want in a couple of spots down there. And then we're going to put this together. If you also want this to be a little bit more structured, and depending on how thick your fabric is, you can go ahead and add some reinforcement with some interfacing to the back of your fabric before you sew it together. Okay, so make sure you do that. Also, you want to make sure the interfacing is about 1 inch smaller than the fabric, so that that cinch can cinch up tight and not be impeded by the actual interfacing, making that fabric thick and tight. Okay, so keep the fabric thinner around the outside and then a bit more structured in the middle. I'm going to make it without because I don't need it to be super structured for this today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera over here so you can see the sewing machine. And we're going to sew this up. All right, so I have my embroidery unit on, but the great thing about a lot of these Brother embroidery machines is that you can go ahead and leave this on and use it just like a sewing machine as well. So we're going to just, I don't know why it's on that. I just want a regular straight stitch. So we're going to go with number 3. And I'm going to sew first down the sides of where this elastic is. Actually, I'm going to sew those with a zigzag. And then we'll sew some straight lines to make a couple of slots down the middle here for this. So we'll start with the zigzag on here. Sorry, my presser foot got moved. I've been using this machine for embroidery, so I haven't even been using the presser foot. So okay, I have some orange thread on here to hopefully make it a little bit more coordinating. We don't need to care about the back because that's going to be sandwiched between the 2 layers of the fabric. So we're really just caring about how it looks on this top side. And that will be seen when you open up the bag. Okay, so now we have the elastic stitched on the 2 ends. And I'm going to go ahead and sew about every inch maybe. Or maybe I'll make some smaller ones and some bigger ones. Top stitch or back stitching at the beginning and the end, and then making a few lines down here for, you could do these for markers, pencils. I'm going to use this for a makeup bag. So I'm going to make a couple big ones and a couple small ones for just the different sort of tubes, chapstick, mascara, eyeshadow brush, those sorts of things you could put in here. Now, it is round and it is going to get cinched up. So you have to think about, you don't want something that's huge in here because that won't cinch up very well. So this is more for smaller items, but it would definitely work for makeup things. A tube of mascara is not nearly as long as, say, a pencil, or for some smaller stationery items, or definitely a little mini sewing kit. So all of those would be good things to put in here. And again, if you want to put large items, you can make this way bigger. Okay, so I'm just making a smaller bag here, and I'm gonna just trim these threads before we go on. Okay, and now I'll show you, we have the elastic. Oh, yeah, you might drop a pin in there. Good thing I don't sew with too many pins. I use more clips than anything. Otherwise, I probably would think about it. All right, so there's the elastic sewn on there. That's funny. The things we think about the things that some people think about that others don't, right? We all have our things. All right, so I'm going to put these, I guess I cut one a little bit bigger than the other. Put these together. I'm going to put a couple of clips that can't fall down the slot in the embroidery arm around here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sew about a 1/4 inch from the outside of the fabric. Okay, so a 1/4 inch all the way around the circle. And you want to make sure you leave a couple inch hole for turning. So we're going to go all the way around except for a couple inches on one side. And you can see my fabric didn't end up exactly the same. So I'm going to make sure that I'm sewing a 1/4 inch from the smaller piece. And then we'll just go ahead and trim that after. Not a big deal. Okay, so we're going to go all the way around. I think my circle has a slight oval shape, but it will be fine as long as you've lined them up on top of each other correctly, as round as possible. Depending on what size you're making this, you could probably use a bowl or something that's actually round to get a nice round shape. Or I could have put like a pencil in the middle and a string and done it like that to get a nice round shape too. I didn't do that. Hello from Australia. Hi, Stacy. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do before I turn this right side out is we're going to trim the seam allowance. Not too close, but you can see here where it got a little bit wide because of that second piece of fabric being wider. I'm going to trim that off. So we want about a 1/4 inch, but not more, like I have in some space. Some places here I do have more than a 1/4 inch. So we're going to trim that off. All the way around. Okay. And now we have this thing to turn. We also, I'm going to put a few clips about every 1/2 inch to inch. So not just a few. I'm going to clip all the way around my circle so that when I turn this right side out, it lays nicely and doesn't bunch. It's a big circle, so it's not like a tight corner where we need a lot of clips, but I just want to put a few to release some of that tension in the fabric when we do turn it right side out. Make sure that you don't clip your seam. If you do, no worries, just go back and stitch over it so it doesn't come apart. Okay, you can always fix it, especially at this point in the project. We're not too far gone by any means. Okay, I have some spring-loaded clippy scissors for like making frayed flannel blankets and things, and I should have brought that out because it's so much easier to clip. Now here I cut pretty close to the seam allowance, so I don't have to clip that one, but I really didn't mean to clip that close, or maybe I just sewed that close. I'm not sure. Okay, so now we're going to turn it. We have it clipped and we have it sewed all the way around, and we're going to go ahead and turn it right side out. And at this point, you could go ahead and press it if you want a perfect seam, perfect circle, but I didn't get my iron out before this, so I'm not going to press it. We're just going to do our best to stitch around it and pull it out as we go. All right, so the next step is to top stitch around 1 to close this opening hole. Okay, so we're going to tuck. I did not clip the seam allowance on this opening hole just to make it easier to tuck it inside. So I wasn't tucking in like 5 little pieces. I just had that part. And then you're going to make sure, because we're not pressing this, that you're pulling the seam all the way open, rolling it, pressing it with your, pushing it with your fingers. And then we're going to go ahead and put a pin or a clip to hold it open until we get to sew it. Okay, so I'm going to need quite a few clips because I want to put one every couple inches to hold this in place. But you can easily just open it all the way and see how I'm doing that. So pull both sides of the seam till you see the stitches and then grab the stitches, and that will open it all the way because it likes to stay, you know, tucked in on itself, rolled in a little bit, but that's going to affect both the shape and the size of this if we let it roll in on there. Okay, so we're just continuing around. Opening up the seam, putting this on there. Remember, I mentioned this at the very beginning, but I'm going to mention it again probably a couple times. Tomorrow I'll be live on the Brother Crafting Facebook and YouTube channels, giving a demonstration and showing all about the new Brother Sublimation printer. I've been having a blast with it, and I can't wait to make some more projects with it as well. So you can check that out tomorrow. It will be at noon Eastern time, or for me, it's 10 a.m. Mountain time. Okay. Whew. All the way around. So now we have, this will be the inside because we have the elastic on it. Okay. And then this is the outside that's plain. If you want to add some decoration or trim, make sure you do that before you sew these together. We already sewed them together, so now it's hard to get to that point. So at this point, actually I'm going to do it on the right side because I want to do it as neat and as easy as possible. But I'm going to top stitch. Come a little bit closer here. I'm going to top stitch very close to the edge of my circle. Okay, so maybe 1/8 of an inch. We're essentially just keeping the shape, making it look nice. And then when we get around to where that opening was, of course, we're closing that opening. But we don't want to be stitching too far inside. And this time, we don't need to leave anything for opening. We're going to stitch all the way around. And you might be wondering how we're going to get the drawstring inside. Don't worry. We're going to do that after. If you do want to sew a buttonhole, then we need to add it before we sew this close. But I'm using the grommets, so I am going to be able to sew this all the way around. If you're looking for a written instructions for this and maybe more clear, because sometimes when I'm sewing live, I forget steps or I do it my own way. But if you want to see a step-by-step tutorial that was done correctly and thought out properly and includes the instructions for using a buttonhole for the ties, you can find that in the link that is in the description of this video, or also it's scrolling across the bottom of the video right here. That would also give you all that information. All right, so now it's looking cute. We've sewed around the outside. Step 2, kind of looks like a tortilla. It's actually large tortilla shaped, this one that I'm making right here. We're going to sew about 1 inch from the first. I'm wondering if I just left align my needle, and then I can kind of use the side as a guide. So I won't go quite 1 inch, but we're going to go and sew, making a casing for that drawstring now. Okay, so between 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch, and we're trying to sew that consistently all the way around. And the bigger the circle, of course, the longer this takes. I remember I did this once for It's So Easy on the TV show, and we were very time limited when we recorded those episodes. So they were done in real time. So if your episode was like 12 minutes, they wanted you to do the whole project in 12 minutes. And for some reason, I cut out the biggest circle ever. The biggest circle ever when I was making it for the show. And so I was stitching around, and it just felt like I was stitching and stitching and stitching endlessly, and it was taking so long, when of course for that show I should have made the tiniest version ever, because it wouldn't have taken so long. So I don't know what I was thinking. All right, so now we have 2 layers of stitching all the way around the bag with a finished edge. Okay, so like I said, it kind of feels like a tortilla all the way around. And I am going to go back over to my work table. I'll turn the camera again, and we're gonna finish this bag with the rest of it. So the sewing part is just part of it, but we also have the making part, which is the rest of it here. Trying to keep this a little bit out of the way so I can see your comments, but you guys can also still see my work table and see me. Okay. So here we go, a nice tortilla shape, and we're going to now put in the grommets and thread the lacing through. So I also have a lighter to finish off the edges of the lacing. So depending on what lacing you're using, make sure you're finishing those edges. So the first thing I'm going to do is set the 2 grommets. So I need to take out the pieces, and for each one we need a male and a female part. So I need to double check that that's what I'm pulling out. I just keep them all here in the bag together. And it might be almost time for a refill because my bag is getting a little bit low. And then that's all of it. Okay, so I have the hammer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut open 2 spots on my bag through 1 layer of the fabric, not through both layers. So this is where it gets maybe a little bit tricky, but I really like doing this after I've already sewed it because it just makes it so simple. So I'm going to cut a little cross, leaving the 4 pieces of fabric and not cutting it too big. And then I'm going to try to go sort of directly across the circle and cut the second one. Okay, again, just through 1 layer on the inside of the pouch. So I'm not making any cuts or any marks on the outside, on the back side. All right, so then we're going to slide 1/2 of the grommet inside the hole. And if you've cut your fabric big enough, then this should work. If not, you need to go back and cut a little bit more. Maybe some little craft tweezers would be helpful here. Okay, so you want to make sure those cuts, the fabric is all the way up and around the grommet so that when you put the top on, it literally like seals it down. Okay, so now we're going to put this underneath. Set that in there. Put this on top. And we're going to give it a couple of bonks with the hammer. Okay, so now we have, maybe I should have bonked it the other way. Cut my fabric a little bit because the sharp metal poked through. So it'll be fine when it's all cinched up, but I'll probably do the other one a little bit different. It's been a while since I've done this. All right, so grommet number 1 is in. All right, let's place number 2. We're going to slide that into those holes we cut. And this time I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to give it a little bonk from the other side. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put the little base on the grommet side, and I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to give it a little bonk from the back side. Okay. So now we have the 2 grommets set into the fabric on opposite sides of the bag. Opposite sides of the bag, okay? And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut our cording. I'm gonna cut 2 pieces because I'm gonna have them each go on half of, I also need my elastic threader. Oh, it's here. All right, so I'm cutting this one, and then that was a frayed end. So now I'm gonna go ahead and finish this before I go any further. This is nylon, obviously, so it melts, and then it secures it. This cording has like an inside and an outside, and the inside likes to come out of the outside, and it likes to kind of make a big mess. So I'm finishing that. Woo, hot. But in just a second, I'm actually going to squeeze it to really crimp it. But don't do that when it's too hot because you'll burn your finger. All right. I want each piece to be a little bit larger than halfway around the circle, because we need to maybe tie a knot and thread it through some of those other things. So after I've cut that, I'm going to finish this end. I'm getting this really nicely burned, and I'm just going to set that on that fabric to cool. We're going to burn this end. Okay, let it cool. And then we're going to cut so that they are both the same length. And burn that one as well. Okay. So now we have 2 finished pieces of cording. Go ahead and make sure they're ready to go. And you're going to take a large safety pin, or here I have an elastic threading. I literally forget the name of this every time I use it. Don't worry, it'll come to me, or someone will remember. And we're going to put it through. So you need to make sure if you're using a grommet that your grommet is big enough for the threading device to fit through. Oops. That's that one I said where it cut through the fabric a little bit. So make sure it doesn't come out the back side. I'm going to have to use a little like patch on there. All right, so pull it inside, and you're going to pull it all the way around to the other side where we have the grommet. And then you're going to pull it back out. It's just so cute and so easy. Really, really is. This one doesn't want to come out. Okay. So there's one side through, and we're going to do, oh yeah, Bodkin Mary, thank you for saving me. Seriously, I don't know why that word is just doesn't stick in my brain. All right, we're going to go back through from the other side now and thread it going the other way. Okay, so the drawstring will go essentially all the way around, but we're just using 2 pieces. You can totally do one hole, one piece all the way around. That is fine. Okay, it will work. I just personally like the look of the 2, but it absolutely will function the same. I think it's maybe a little bit harder to pull when you're trying to open and close it, but not a big problem. Okay, so don't worry about that. If you're like, I'm just going to deal with 1, I don't want to deal with 2. Okay, pull this around. All right, so now we're going to put the 2 ends together, okay? And, oh, no, I'm not tying a knot yet. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to slide this through my toggles. I like to call them toggles. I'm not sure what the scientific name is for them, but if you go on Amazon and search toggles, these will come up because that's how I buy them. Okay, and then I'm going to tie, you can tie them together or you can tie them separate if you want on there as well. But I want to be able to maybe hang it up when I cinch it. So I want a nice loop there. So I'm tying them together. All right, and then same thing on this side. We're going to do this. We're going to put these together, slide that knot. Ah! I forgot the toggle. I was too worried about my knot tying. So depending on how you melted the ends, it may be difficult to put it through the toggle. And depending on how good your toggle is, I'm finding this one is not lined up as well. So anyway, those are just things to consider. I'm going to need this needle to help shove it through. Okay, so just be resourceful. Find things to help you get it. This one isn't lined up as well, so I squeeze it shut, and it still is like not lined up really well, is what I'm noticing, which is why it's more difficult to shove through. It's coming. Just use some, I'm going to have to remelt this one because I'm pulling it apart to get it through. Whew, okay, but I pulled some of the insides out, so I will have to give this one a little melt. They're not my fabric scissors. They're over at the sewing table. Melt all that up. It smells really good in here after my playing with fire. So when if my kids were here, they'd come running. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, it's not as fun as it looks like it. All right. So now we can cinch this baby up and take a look at how cute this is. So I put my toggles this time on the inside of the bag. You can put them on the inside or the outside, but I think it hangs better if you want to use it like a little hanging pouch when you put them on the inside of the bag. Okay, so there's the little bag. So cute. And then you just slide the toggles open. You can slide one side to be able to just sort of get in a little bit, or you can slide both sides to just have it open, and it lays, I guess I have to move back over here. It lays flat on the table when opened all the way up, and then you can load up the things you want, and you can go ahead and cinch it back up, hang it up, hang it in your car, wherever, carry it, have a little purse, whatever you want. But it's super cute and super easy, and I love making these. They're so tiny and fun, and I don't know. I think they're pretty great. So I hope this inspired you to make a cute little round bag like this, or at least check out the tutorial where maybe I didn't botch 20 bits of the directions. Of course, I wasn't looking at the tutorial as I was making this, and I probably should have to make sure I followed the steps correctly. But you get the idea. It's cute, it's tiny, it's a circle, and it was really easy to sew. So be inspired. Make sure you check in tomorrow on the Brother Sews or the Brother Crafting page. I'll be on talking about sublimation. That's a hard word for me to say. And then I'll be back, and not next week because it's Thanksgiving. So I'll be taking the week off to spend time with my family. I'll be back the week after with probably some fun Christmas projects. So hope you have a great rest of your week. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you in the United States, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.